How's everybody doing? I'm Alan K. So with this, a lot of people they're stuck. There's a lot of Reddit stuff going on, a lot of stuff in the news, and a lot of us don't even have time to follow that stuff. I mean, a lot of us are just trading stocks. We're trading stocks from home. I mean, it's 3 in the morning, and I just got done taking a shower, doing my stuff, packing lunches for the morning, just doing my stuff. So that way, homeschooling, I got some stuff ready, some stuff's prepared. Some of us are homeschooling, we're paying our bills, we're trying to work, we're just staying up on dishes, laundry, the basic stuff, getting to the store, getting an oil change, getting to your parents' house, getting to your sister's house, getting to your brother's house, trying to help family out, drop stuff off, carpool. People are doing all kinds of stuff right now, and 2021 has really gotten out of control already. It's the start of the year, and right now you see everything coming back on the little guys, and it's the David versus Goliath story, and it's always been that way. It'll always be that way. For some of us though, we're just making gas money. We're just making our money for groceries, extra things to get through the week. Maybe just to try to keep Spectrum on, keep some cable on, so that way you have internet to homeschool, because now you have an added expense because maybe you didn't have that before. So with these added expenditures and the influx and everything going up, I think everybody should have an edge in the stock market. There should be, every American should be invested in something. From whether it's you're using peanut butter, just look around your house, or you're using this. Pick something and really research it. Does that company really reinvest their money? Are they reinvesting their money properly? I think investment comes down to the personal, where the billionaires do make up a certain percentage, but the people outweigh the small minority of the rich. So the people take stock in what they use. If you think that you're going to have a gas-powered car and you believe in gas-powered cars for the next 25 years, then invest in Advance or AutoZone or wherever you buy your parts at, and invest in your. You can't. I'm not on here to sway anyone to invest in any which way. I think stocks are a risky way to gamble. I think it's just another way of gambling, only you don't have to go to the casino for it, and it's a lot higher stakes. You can lose as much as you gain, and it's no different than going to the gas station and getting a lottery ticket. You can go down there, you can go spend $1,000 and get a lottery ticket. Why can't you spend $1,000 on the stock market? So I think wherever you want to invest your money, for everybody individually, I think it's a good way to go to explore your options. So with exploring your options, you always want to do your research, really take time. People talk about paper trading. I didn't necessarily paper trade, but I really watched graphs. In my head, I was like, well, I'd buy that, you know what I mean? And I'd watch that stock, and then I'd see, what it would do. So I would keep track on a ledger on paper, and I kind of did some stuff, but you could literally take $100 and put $100 in an envelope and say, well, I'm going to invest in this. And then if it loses money, take it out. And then kind of figure yourself out if you need a visual. There's different ways to do it. A lot of these apps now too have, like Webull, Stash, E-Trade, TradeStation. A lot of them have their own development now, where you can go in and take a class to kind of level yourself up, because they have different levels as far as trading goes. So you can go into their webinars, some free stuff, sometimes there's sign up stuff, and by doing these, you're just broadening your skills like anything else. I've pretty much watched tutorials on most of them, and went through a lot of the seminars that they offered, like with E-Trade, TradeStation. With Webull, I'm checking that one out now. Stash, I think, is a very good one. As far as Stash goes, it's a quick turnaround. If you go to cash out, you can have your personal, your Roth, can have a custodial account, which I like on that one. With Robinhood, Robinhood and Acorn are probably my least two favorite that I've like checked out. I think Webull does a pretty good job. The difference is with like Webull, you're buying solid shares. Same with E-Trade, TradeStation. So you're buying whole share pieces. Where with Robinhood, Acorns, and Stash, you can get the partial shares. So with Stash, I kind of like it because you can create a diversified portfolio if you want. You can own a little bit of Alphabet, you can own a little bit of Amazon, you can own some Plug Power, you can own some solar. You can switch it around where you can be very diverse, but you don't have to own a whole stock on like Stash. And I think that makes it a lot more affordable for people that are just trying to, hey, I got $4, but instead of, if you have a problem saving money, now you put it in another account and you don't see it. So I understand the philosophy behind different people's way of thinking that these apps aren't that bad. And I think it's good for some of these young people because some of them are. I mean, I've talked to a couple millennials and people from that generation era that, it saved them some money to be able and put it over there. But it's making sure you're putting it in the right account because I've known some to lose some too. I knew one person to make 22 grand, and the same guy that invested in the same stock lost $1,000. It's all in when you buy in. It's all in your research. So make sure that you thoroughly check if you're going to go through somebody. Check with people that are knowledgeable in that field. Do your research as far as when the next financial reports are going to come out. Really watch those financial quarters. Make sure that they don't have a reverse stock split coming out. Make sure that you're not going to get trapped where you're buying into something, but you could have invested the same amount of money in something else, got more return plus a dividend. So dividends play if you're playing a long game on some stocks, because maybe they extended a dividend out and the financial report on the last one didn't have it. So now if you invest in that stock, the next financial report is going to make up the dividends or where they extended out because they were showing the profits. And especially you see that coming out of 2020. It's the biggest thing I saw is a lot of stuff in 2020, quarterly reports, financial reports, just extended dividends, going out into February, January, February, March, and now stuff's starting to hit. A lot of pre-order stuff, sales, that kind of stuff, like space. Virgin Galactic is one of those. Their stock's going, but they still have their pre-tickets. I think don't quote me on this. I think it was like $1,000 you sign up, and that's a $250,000 once you're going on your trip. So once they do the $250,000 ticket sales, I'm sure that stock will probably soar a little bit. At the same time, you got to look at where space is. You have all this stuff going on right now. Lockheed Martin, they're a good defense contractor, one of the number one top dogs. And you go through some of the people they deal with. So sometimes if you pick a certain person, I've realized, or a certain company, not person, but looking at like people though, if you look at Elon Musk, he has Tesla, but then if you look at the board company and follow all the companies that he's a hype man for, maybe you want to invest in all those companies because you really believe in that person. Same with like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, or whatever his name is, Blue Origin and stuff, which I don't invest in Amazon. I don't invest in Walmart. I invest in Plug Power. Plug Power sells to Amazon and Walmart. So personally, that makes sense to me. Because if Amazon and Walmart, for example, start to dry up, then maybe I'll consider dropping my Plug Power. But for when I bought into it. And right now, though, I would say definitely watch the price. I haven't bought into it for a while. I haven't bought into anything. But if I'm buying into stuff, but I changed my strategy in 2021 from 2020 because I'm just holding my stocks. Things like fuel cell are just up there. Space is up there. Plugs up there. PBF Energy is another one. They're about to report. PBF Energy, they dropped down. They're right there. They're hanging with like fuel cell for a minute. And then all of a sudden PBF Energy, they started spiking a little bit here and there. And now they're back to spiking again. But their financial report and fourth quarter for 2020 reports on February 11th. So coming up, you're going to have another big shift there. This week, I think Alphabet and Amazon, they're reporting, I think I saw. So you have that shifting of the tide coming up because the Russell 3000 index then will report in June. And if you go back to September of 2019 when Shadow Bank collapsed, and a lot of this stuff happened coming out of like September 2019, so they had that upper hand before the COVID drop even came. And then when the COVID drop came, it's been a bounce back. So it's been see which ones bounce back, see which ones are coming back strong. And I think with that, you do have, I think Beyond Meats is an interesting company because you have companies like that could still double back to, there's a lot of companies that can double, triple, quadruple back to what their original price was when they hit the market. A lot of companies are not even close to what their highest peaks ever been. They're still trying to make that ground way up and come back out. So I definitely look at a global scale now. You have to look at where the presidents go, where a trade's going. And be careful as far as knowing your numbers as far as your shares. Like, if you're going to invest in something, know what you are looking, I guess, as far as I'm trying to say, look at your price points. If you're buying in at 3, know that, hey, I'm buying in at 3, but I'm buying in because I can afford to hold for X amount of time to see it hit 5. Or I'm buying in at 2 and I want to see it hit 10, so I'm going to hold it for X amount of time. If you're really going for the quick trade and the short trade, there is a lot of people that are doing that. And, I do. I'll buy, but then I'll have maybe a week where I sell, and then, I differ. But if you're buying 10,000 shares of one site might charge you X amount of dollars, like TradeStation. If you're buying over 10,000 shares, you're going to be paying more of a premium. Or if you go to E-Trade, you could buy 1 million shares, but you're paying $6.95. So, there's different, and it all depends on where you're leveling. If you're that person that's just starting out, like I am, there's nothing wrong with, setting up an account and even maybe having like an E-Trade where you can buy solid stocks in something. And then you have Stash or Robinhood or something else that's, right now I'd watch Robinhood. I'm not really sure what that's going to do with all this Reddick stuff. But I would definitely just, look at your life. If you can buy whole shares, then you're going to want to go into an account where you can buy whole shares. If you're thinking that, hey, 2021 might be a struggle, but 2021 I want to start touching into something, check out Stash or check out one of these like Acorns, because, and I think Stash is a great account. I didn't make no fortune or anything, but for what I invested, I would say that I probably made like $1,500 through looking at probably 3,500. I probably made 1,500. So, you know, to make that kind, I had like 118% in my Roth, and I think my personal, it's like 20%. And I've been conservative in that one. And it's all on how much time and work you put into stuff. If you're really watching the market and doing the swing, well, you gotta know that you're buying into. And a lot of people say, well, how does Stash make their money? Stash does charge like $9, I think, on one of their accounts. I'll do a whole video on that. And this is my first video putting this stuff up. I'm basically doing this just to get information out. I'll leave information in my link. Remember, you know, investing in stocks is a risk, and you should always seek financial advice. Always do all your research. Don't base what you hear off this video. Don't base what you hear off any other videos. Don't base what you hear off what you're hearing in the news, because the news weighs one side to the other. Do your research, and you got to use your intuition, base stuff off what you know and what your best path is to take on your investing strategy, because every investor is going to strategize to their own unique characteristics of their life and what they have going on. If you don't believe in gas and you believe in Tesla and the new electric batteries and electric cars, then you might be one to invest in lithium-ion batteries and go through. And I've been trying to debate on, I wasn't going to launch videos until probably like April, but I decided to do this one, throw this one up tonight, see what it does, see how it goes, see if I get feedback, response, as far as if these videos would be helpful for the common person that's out there. It's not meant to reach the person that's already investing. It's not meant to reach the people. I mean, it's meant to reach the people investing if they want to watch this stuff, especially the videos in the future. I'll try to like label them per what, like the stocks I'm talking about. And, you know, there's some stuff I want to talk about as far as, there's one person had asked me a question that I work with, and you know, they lost a lot of money. And sometimes people think you're crazy, but I will buy in. But once you go below like negative 20%, sometimes it's better to sell, or you want to buy in. Because once you get like negative 30, negative 40%, if your stock's dropping and now you sell out, it was better to sell and just lose 20% than sell and lose 40 and 50, hoping that it was going to go back up. But if it drops below negative 20%, sometimes buy back in and then decrease that negative percentage. And then by buying in low again, if you believed in that stock and say you own 1,000 shares, but then it drops down and now you bought another 500, but now you own 1,500 shares at less than you bought in the first time. So it makes sense to reinvest money even when the stock drops. I mean, when the stock drops, if you believe in that stock, you know that every stock is going to drop. That's the biggest thing, is if you're looking for the quick money, it's not always going to be there. You can't expect every stock to constantly be on a steady pace upwards. If you're expecting every stock to go up, it's not going to happen that way. So you're going to need to make sure that you have a little temperance and patience to be able to wade the storm in between a stock on a fluctuation, which means maybe if you want to buy in on a stock and it's peaking, just because you want to own that stock, don't just go buy that stock. Maybe if you want to own that stock, do the research and go, okay, well, I see it's peaking, but it's probably going to drop here, so I'll wait for it to drop and then I'll buy in. Sometimes maybe it is better to buy in then, because it's only going to go up a little bit, because you never know when they're going to run. Plug Power is one of those. I think the last time I bought in on Plug was $30, and then it ran. I mean, and now it's up over 60, and you're not going to see me buy in on it. I mean, I could buy in at 60 and then at for example, on that, where I own Plug Power and bought in and I own a share at 30, I can buy a share at 60, and if you buy one at 30 and one at 60, now you have two that average 45. So that's that example. Now do it on a scale of 100 or 10 or however many you're trading. Once when I'm dealing with stocks under, if you're dealing with stocks under a penny, I'm buying stocks at 100,000 or $1 million. If you're buying stocks at a penny to $1, you're still buying anywhere from 100 to 10,000 to whatever you're doing. But I found, like, even on some apps like TradeStation, if you're on there and you go to buy 1 million shares of something, it's going to cost you. And the same, like, you can't just turn around and sell those at that price, because you're going to be paying the commission fees and everything else. So the commission fees, that stuff, really do your research on whatever app you're on. If you're on TradeStation, thoroughly go through everything, know everything, E-Trade, Webull, all these. They're really good tools if you use a tool properly. And people always say the best practice, though, is to practice. And to practice is not just to practice, it's to practice perfect. I mean, the better you practice perfect, the more perfect you're going to be when you're actually doing it. If you're just practicing and saying, oh, well, I'm just you're not going to do it. You really have to, be perfect. You have to invest the time. You have to know what you're doing. You have to really be able to stand behind your own self 100%. You have to CEO and back yourself behind this, hedge yourself against this. You have to be your own company when you're doing a single stock portfolio for yourself. You want to take and go through and thoroughly comb your stuff and be on top of it and make sure you're in the best for you out of whichever situation you are. I mean, if you're looking at 20 years, then maybe you want to set something up that has dividends, that has stuff that's going to report, that's going to be conservative climb, that's going to have, you're going to want to pick those higher yields. And that's a big thing on dividends. It's not just picking a company with dividends, it's picking a company with a higher dividend yield. Like Spark Energy, I think it's SPKE. But like Spark Energy, they're a good one that has, I think they're over 6% on their dividends, and it's like an $11 stock. You can buy into another stock that's $60 and has a 3% dividend. Or you could buy 6 shares of something that's going to go up and give you a lot more. So, but you have to compare those. Do you think that $60 stock with that low dividend is going to double and go to 120? Or do you think that those 6 shares that you bought at 10 are that equal to 60, are going to go to 20? So you have a better chance of that stock going from $10 to $20 than $60 to $120. And at $10 to $20, now you own 6 shares. So now you got $120 when it went up and just doubled. So sometimes it's easier to try to, once you get to a certain point, you have to look at the reality of what is the price point that I'm trying to get. So that's why it's not always, some people are, and again, I understand the short game. Some people are like, well, I can make $10 between this swing and this swing, but I'm out because that stock's not going to do that good. Or maybe they're holding it longer. Like, maybe they see something in the graph where you don't, and that's where some of these sites, I think, like the Reddick, it brought a lot of people together, but they show the side where people are making money, like the little guy David versus Goliath, but they don't show all the people that lost the money. For as many people that make money, as many people lose money all the time. And I know many people that won't even touch stuff because they just say, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at numbers. I wasn't always the best at everything, but you have to practice, and you have to practice perfect. You have to practice perfect to be perfect at what you're doing. And you're not always going to be perfect. You're going to fuck up. You're going to have some losses. I've made some trades where I'm like, you know what? If I stay in that trade, we're buying more. Yeah, I can see something come out of it. But sometimes it's just easier to cut your losses, to reinvest in something else, and get your money recouped a lot faster. Because there's no point in beating a dead horse. There's just not. I mean, sometimes you just know something's not going to go nowhere, so just face the reality on it and pull that switch. You have to make those calls, but you have to make them in your portfolio. Now, if you have time to say, hey, I'm going to sit here for 10 years and let this develop, more power to you. A lot of us aren't. A lot of us had to cash stuff out. A lot of us took our 401ks and we're just like, hey, we'd rather invest and have control of our own money. And that's what a lot of this stuff happened. I see why stuff on Reddit popped off the way it did, because a lot of us have been forced during this COVID situation to drain everything we have, consolidate everything we have, pay some bills, and then we go, okay, now we have a little bit left over after we emptied everything else out. Now we empty all this out, we brought it all together, now we paid some bills, now we can take a little bit here, and now we can throw a little bit over here, throw a little bit over here, and then maybe we'll get something back again. But it's because some of us got furloughed. For me, example, it was simple. When you get furloughed and you match, but what you match got sent back to the company, so all that extra that I was trying to match for, I had my money come back that I invested originally, but what the company was matching because my contract got broke, now I lost on my match. Come on. You guys just kicked families. Some of those guys that have been there years, I felt so bad for them. Some of those guys had some major money lost. I mean, I thought I had some money lost, but some of those guys had some money lost. And, the horror stories just kept happening. The more people I talked to, the more people. And then you get put on unemployment. And then, after unemployment, now what's going on? Now you got all these people, and we're all going after the same jobs. I mean, the job I went for, it was crazy. I mean, there was like 1,000 people. Then I went to like a pool of like 100 people. To like a pool of 50 people. To a pool of 20 people. This stuff is getting crazy. Like, if you don't have the integrity to keep following through with stuff, if you're not going to keep going and knocking on that door and keep going to that next interview or keep calling to see if you got that, a lot of these people, I mean, they're going, but then you would just see it, like, they could have made it, they had the same shot, they just didn't follow through. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you struggle with a lot of stuff in your life, stocks might not be the greatest thing to invest in, because you definitely want to have some self-control. If you lack self-control, you're going to lack a certain perspective, I would say, because it will cause you to make those rash decisions. And those could become costly when you make those quick decisions. If you're willing to sit back and take your time, do your research, invest in yourself, spend a year, learn what you're doing, know what you're doing, have some faith and trust in what you're doing, and believe in your skill set that now you developed as a new career base to say, hey, I want to trade in my own stuff because I have money, I'm homeschooling, but instead of spending my money, if all you gotta do is make $10,000-$15,000 a year, pay your rent, pay your food, maybe you only need to make $20-$25 because your overall bills are $40 and Maybe you have 15,000 coming in from a second job. Maybe you deliver pizzas. Maybe you deliver newspapers. Maybe when you're doing a part-time job. But I know right now, for me to go back to work and make what I made, before this pandemic happened, to literally go back to work and make what I made before this pandemic happened, I needed an employer to let me work 60, 70 hours. When somebody knows of an employer that's hiring solid employees, when someone knows of an employer that's hiring solid employees, they'll walk into a factory, bust their ass, and they'll produce some parts, and they'll work the 60 to 70 hours, and you know that company is willing to pay for good people. Let me know, because most of these companies, with all the mandates, everything going on, they're running back, they're scaled back, they're running 40-hour shifts. You're running 32 hours, going in, maybe 35, the other 5 just going in and out, going through your basic protocol of checking in, getting your temperature checked, going through. When you really look at the breakdown, I don't see any American making what they made before the pandemic. I don't see how it's possible, unless you are already established making $100,000 job somewhere. Unless you have a 6-figure income with a company and you were set up before this pandemic, most blue-collar people, and that's why you have that $75,000 scale. But really, with the influx, I remember when this country, you could probably live back in the day. When I started, minimum wage was like $5.15, I think. So for me, if I look back, you could have probably made it on like $12,000 a year if you were, a small single family, a couple people, 2 people, $24,000, $30,000 a year. You probably could have made it by. Now in 2020, you're looking at, I would say for a family of 2, you have to be bringing in 35 to 40 grand. At least 35 to 40 for a family of 2. I know that I come from where I looked at, you always wanted to try to make whatever your age was. So if you were 30, try to make 30,000. If you're 40, make 40. And I think that the strategy behind that, if you try to really make what you feel you're worth, if you feel that you're worth $100, $200 an hour, I think what you used to quote yourself on, you can't quote yourself on that no more. And if you do, you're getting overlooked because people don't have the money to spend like they used to. So it's going to drive back a whole new market, a new small business breed. The scary part is that beginning small new business breed, which ones are legit, integrity, who's holding up to what they're selling. And it created a whole new world of just scamming and unsureness. And you have a lot more people that are inside their house. They're starting to do all their own stuff. Stocks is one of those where with a stock company, they're making their money from what you invest and buy your stock, and then you have X amount. Like I know in my account, I have money wrapped up in my stocks, but then I have money sitting there because if I want to buy something or buy a stock of something, you have to have money in there. So with that money sitting there, they're making a certain principal off everybody's money. So when you add up the millions of people that are on there trading, they're making tons of money just off the principal amount of what you leave in your account. So there's an understanding on why the fees are what they are, why you can get on some of these accounts and you're not getting the commission fees and you're not getting the prices. So some of these apps aren't that bad if you're that small person that's investing. Why not? if you know that you're going to invest in something and that's a sure thing, that you believe that that's not going anywhere and that's a staple and that should be an American staple somewhere, then invest in that American staple. If you believe that that company is reinvesting their money in their company properly, and know that it is, while you're sitting there investing your money, that they're paying a CEO to be in a suit and a plane, eat fancy dinners, do all this stuff, but that's part of the game. The whole thing is this stuff with the Reddit bothered me because if you're doing this stuff in stocks, then you know that there's a risk. You know that there's a certain gamble. You know that there's a certain level that you're going to take. And I think that everyone should be held accountable at all levels, at the big businesses and the hedge funds. And the market should have been able to run the way it was running. You shouldn't be able to stop. And if you were going to, because you can't sell a certain number of stocks, or you shouldn't have been able to open it up. You shouldn't be able to just shut stuff down like that. Because there's no telling. What they did was they calmed the upset. There's no telling how bad the upset could have been. However bad that they said, I don't feel bad. I think, nothing should happen, personally, with this whole Reddit thing. I think nothing should happen. You want to know why? Because they stopped it. They put a stop to it. They stopped people from trading, did their thing, but they still left it open for hedge funds. The small investor couldn't, buy on Robinhood, but hedge funds could still go on there. So, if you're going to change the rules in the middle of the game, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Unless it's already rigged. So the easiest way is to find out which ones are rigged. So that's what people are doing. People are literally seeing how rigged the game is. And by doing that, now you have a different approach. Now it's maybe if I'm going to invest, I want to invest in some stock. I've never invested in GameStop. I don't know why. I understand all the gamers out there. I've never invested in GameStop. There's more legit stuff that I'd rather invest in. But hey, those people made it. I mean, I gotta give props where props is due in this situation. I was like, hey, the people that made it. But like I said, the hedge funds say they lost. Or the people that they're trying to make up with that one company. I understand that, but the amount of people that also gained on stuff, there's a certain amount of people that lost on stuff too. I mean, there is. The people that lost money, they're not going to look at that. And the amount of money that could have been lost by the hedge funds, we'll never know. So the fact that we will never know how much they could have actually lost because they stopped the small guy from trading. So I think the damage control is done. I think the damage has been done to the small guy again. I don't feel bad for the hedge fund guy because the hedge fund guy is invested in someone because their clients went out. The hedge fund's getting upset because now all his rich clients don't want to go through him. But all those rich people weren't smart enough, like the small average Joe, to take the time and invest in their own stuff because they didn't have to struggle with the small average Joe. So it's very hard for the small average Joe to find sympathy with the hedge fund people. So watch the fake news. I wouldn't follow the news. I would follow the news and watch the reports on if it's blown up in the news, maybe think twice about what's going on with that stock. And if they're leading you in the direction that it's truly going or leading you in the opposite direction. I think some of these stocks you really have to look at as far as global economy and stateside. Sorry guys. Do you want to invest in power? Do you want to invest in solar? Do you want to invest in food? Do you want to invest in aerospace? Do you want to invest in There, trains to boring underground. What's your niche? Do you like biopharmaceuticals? Do you want to go into genome testing? There's a wide range, so I think really looking at the different sectors is a good place to start in research. Is to say, hey, I want to take and invest deep in biopharmaceuticals because I lost a family member, so I want to see what I can invest in cancer research, because cancer research in this company. I think that there's a lot of good companies on the stock market to invest in because you believe in the product that they're truly selling to the American people. On the other hand, there's a lot of companies on there that don't make sense. And I understand trying to stop the China companies too, but at the same time, that's that free market global trade where you have American companies where if you want to go over and set up an American company overseas, you don't want the China market stopping your American company from setting up on their platform. So it's that if we do it to them, expect them to do it to us. So I think the market tree, if you're in the U.S., invest in the U.S. market. Invest in your stocks. If you're over there, Sydney, wherever you're at, the stock markets are a little bit different. So I think the feedback with these videos will be interesting because they're able to reach worldwide compared to where I threw some stuff on Facebook just to see who would catch. But really it is, your friends change, groups change, and really those same people that you go to school with aren't always going to see eye to eye. They're not going to give you the time of day because you don't talk to those people anymore, and that's not really the base I was trying to touch. I'm trying to hit the person that's just like me out of, you got one person out of, I'm an 80s kid, so, I came up in the 90s, so I think a lot of us just came up from the school of hard knocks, so you're going to have to figure stuff out. You're going to have to research stuff. You're going to have to work it out. You're going to have to try it. You're going to have to fail. You're going to have to try again, and then you're going to have to succeed. And you're going to change careers. You're going to be a jack of all trades. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You change your own oil. You wash your dishes. Make your own food. Not all of us have a butler, So some of us still go by the stars and stripes. It's just who we are. And, we'll probably be censored for all this stuff eventually. Everything. It will come back on every single one of us. And that's the sad part, is how things come back on people. So I think even doing these videos, the people that are trying to help people, I'm here trying to pay it forward. There's tons of people doing these videos. All trying to pay it forward. Everybody that's trying to pay it forward will be the ones to get taken off the platform, or you'll get taken off because you're just trying to help someone learn something. So I think the learning basis in this country has really reached a pivotal point where there's so many kids out of school right now, so many kids struggling in homeschool, so many kids struggling in school, the dynamic of home and school. You have to take and really look at self-education as the biggest tool possible. Self-education in yourself, self-education to teach your kids, self-education to teach your family. Take the time to learn from your parents. If you have an uncle that's an electrician, spend 10 hours with them a week. Why? You're not going to learn or lose nothing. Go learn a trade. If you know somebody in a trade, I think now is the time for people to pick up trades from their family members. Pick up trades from a friend. Spend time turning a wrench. I'd really encourage people to get out there and be motivated and stuff that they're doing. And that's where I think that the stock market is a great thing, but I think at the same time for American people, if you're in that hometown and you have money to spend, maybe look around. Maybe go up and say, maybe you have $10,000, but maybe you see a business that's has complete potential to succeed, but they might fail if they don't get some revenue in. And maybe you can go up and talk to a business owner and sit down, and maybe that business owner will talk to you. as a small entrepreneur, because I highly believe that everybody should be an entrepreneur and just believe in their brand, believe in what they're doing, go after what they want. And I think as being a small town person and being an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur and you go up to another small town entrepreneur and you say, hey, I would like to invest in your brand, what are the things that you're struggling that you need to pay for, and would you be willing to sell a percentage of the company? Or if I loaned you money even, would you pay me back and then I get 1% or something? There's many ways you can work things where you could become part of a local small town business. Maybe it's that place you eat breakfast all the time. Maybe it's that place you buy your fish all the time. Maybe it's that place you go down and buy your ice cream all the time. Maybe it's that place where you're going over and it's that big box store and you buy mag-tag washers all the time. But all of a sudden their business went down and now they're on one side of a bridge and you can go over on the other side and you can bring some of their business over to the other side and you can help boost that side of a town. Linking together and creating a second location, because maybe you own a property and you're not doing nothing with it, so why not do something good with it? And at the same time, you could create a whole new division of problems as well, because I see where entrepreneurs are scared to open businesses because with all the laws changing. Somebody brought that to my attention because they asked me some stuff the other day about things that were going on and about how they respond, because they are a very nice person but they don't necessarily understand all the stuff going on in the world, where I understand where they're coming from, that they're very scared to open a business. You have a lot of people right now that they can open their business, but they don't want to because they don't want to offend somebody. If you open your business now and somebody comes in and you offend somebody and all of a sudden you have these lawsuits and somebody's too happy or there's a problem with this and now you have all these legalities. Some people are like, to the point where the one couple I talked to, they're okay with closing their business. They could have opened back up in 2020 and they said, well, we have the money to wait till 2021, but now they're running out of time. So now if they don't open up, do they sell it, keep it? But if they sell it, they know they're not going to get what they want right now. If they keep it, they might not get what they want later. And if they open, they can't wrap their head around everything because they think it's gonna, how do they employ? How do you pick, like, what kind of people are you gonna deal with? Like, is it okay to pick the people that you still believe, or are you gonna have to take and conform and you're gonna be shut down because you don't employ a certain number of people under this race or that, or this ethnicity from that? And on top of that, you have the wage increase for state workers going to 15. Now you have small businesses competing, and that was the biggest thing I saw when talking to some small business people, is that state wages are going to 15, and so many of these small business owners struggle already just trying to come up to like a $10 average. So many people I talk to, they're, still working that small job that don't even make $10 an hour. But now you want small business owners to compete with state jobs that are paying $15, and you want these small business owners to pay $15 an hour. Now they have to get an employee, train them, and then now you have to watch how you go about training. You can't, it's not just here you go and that hands-on anymore. It's with face mask and gloves and the communication. You create a whole nother barrier wall in between a society that's already splitting and fraying at the edges. Now you've taken and put in all these barriers that most small business owners. And right now, somebody asked me that, and they said, "Would you open a restaurant?" I said no. And I definitely wouldn't. I mean, I told people 2023 to 2025, I'd be game. I'll come back and chef. But right now, no way. No way would I. I mean, I'll pick my knives up and I'll make my kid anything she wants. But I'm not going to pick my knives up and go into a restaurant right now. There's no point. It's not there. I mean, I'll go and I'll help do something for homeless, but that's because they're gonna appreciate that. I'll do something for people that appreciate stuff, and I'd rather do that for those people than I would sit and kill myself any farther to help the government get one more leg up over me than they already have. I don't see how that is beneficial to anybody. So I think anyone that's watching this video, I think that if you have a niche, I mean, there's things like Printify out there, or I think like SDs, and you have eBay, and you have all these sites. I mean, even if you go through your house and take and collect everything that you think that you don't need. I mean, think about all the stuff that you have. Think about all the stuff in your house. And if you think that you might reach a point where you might run out of rent money, now is maybe that time to collect that stuff. Get an app on your phone, throw that stuff up there, and you never know. And maybe you have to create the shipping, but then save that stuff for taxes. Show, hey, I sold my stuff here, I did this stuff here. Even if you say you just opened up a business, eBay business for a month, and you do it and set up your account just to sell your stuff, keep track of your stuff. I think the taxes and legalities, I think everybody needs to really watch what they're doing. That's the biggest thing, is keep track of everything you're doing. Keep a notebook with everything that you're doing. Keep your mind going, be intuitive. And, if you just keep pushing through this stuff, it will get better if you create and lay out a plan. Create that screen where you can see yourself and then see where you're going next, and create a goal. Go to bed with a goal every night. Wake up every morning, go after that goal. Try to conquer that goal. And sometimes it might just be sweeping your floor or something. It doesn't have to be an extravagant thing. I think in 2021, I see that with a lot of people. Some people have just been stuck for a while. So if you're one of those people that's out there and you've been stuck, just to get up and take a shower, just get up and go through and start doing the little things, because people are getting boxed in, and the depression and anxiety, and people, I hate seeing that stuff. It's really getting worse, and I think that's a saddening, it's definitely a heartfelt effect when you see that amongst a lot of people. People are losing the hope, and I think the more communities come together, like I said, if it's creating a hot dog stand, a lemonade stand, I mean, we need this stuff in America. There's people out there eating, there's still people out there working. People are still going to stop. I will open a hot dog stand before I probably open a restaurant right now, just because it's that interaction. People go to do the interaction things. You still need interaction to be part of life. You can't just eat out of a vending machine and eat from a gas station and eat processed food from a fast food place all the time and stuff. You have to sit down and have a family meal. You have to sit down and enjoy life and know why you even own a pair of boots anymore. So I think the American family needs to get back to just being the American family and appreciating the little things they have in life. And I think that comes down to the people that really can look at this situation and say, hey, we believe in why we were born here and why we're here, what we're here to do, and that's we're all people. We're all under the same landmass. We're not like, none of us can fly and have wings. I mean, if somebody has wings and flies, I want to go see them. But I think that when you're really looking at stuff as an economy, I mean, we're all like, if anyone thinks they're any better than anybody else because anything is happening, everyone's a fool. I mean, no one person is in a better place than anybody else right now. Everybody is in the same huge boat. I mean, that's the only way to look at it. The debt per person, I think, is like, when you average it out, it's probably like 80,000. Now, they're talking about tacking on more trillions of dollars. You know, the stimulus is part of quantum easing, and it can't go on forever. The stimulus can't go on forever. But, you know, they're trying to create this universal income, and if you take and step back and really look at how far we are in debt. They talk about our debt, but you always hear them say, we don't want to spend this much money because it's another couple more $1 trillion. But what they don't show you is with quantum easing, they've increased their assets tremendously over the last 10 years. And it goes back to the 2008 recession. You know, you go 2007 before that, 2009 takes 18 months, you know. Normally 18 months after a crash, you'll feel the hardest effects. I think right now, for most Americans, if you're watching this video, I think we're all people. I think 2021 right now, we're going to feel the hardest effects. 2020, we were in it. 2021, this is the year we're going to feel the hardest effects. You're going to see the biggest changes, the hardest effects felt, and everything moving forward right now at this moment in 2021. So with that being said, you have to really look at that. At some point, they're going to keep adding all these bills on. As you keep adding all these stimulus bills on, it's going to increase that. If we're down here at like 26 trillion, sorry, getting tired of you guys. So, if we're down here at 26 trillion, 30 trillion, it's been a minute since I looked up the numbers. If we're going to keep adding all these trillions of dollars, all that debt comes back to the American people, like me and you, and we're just going to keep being in chains, and we're just going to keep getting more taxes, and we're just going to keep having our taxes raised up until they say, hey, we're going to put you in cuffs if you have the money to pay the debt per person to be a free citizen. If not, go work in our slave camp. Hey, go over here and work here. Hey, you go work here. I mean, I have a selective service number. I know, like, they call the draft. It's not just like, I mean, they call your selective service number. They could, hey, maybe they need somebody here at the grocery store. Maybe you're digging a hole somewhere. Who knows what's behind the whole plan of whoever's in charge of whatever and wherever this country's going. At this point, where we're at, we're so far in on taxes. They tax us so much more. How much more can they tax us? If they're going to increase the taxes now, look at 20 years. Look at how far out they could, like, tax you on stuff. And how far the taxes could go. So, if you're paying all this stuff in taxes, why not learn to work from home? Why not learn to take care of your family? Why not go back to having more people? I mean, you used to do it all the time. You'd have somebody that was making shoes. Then you would have somebody that was making pottery. Then you would have somebody that was making steel. Then you would have this person. And everybody, you know, that person went here, that person went there. And that's a community. You build it up. You got to go back to that small. Everything has to come back and then come back out. And with building that out, if you look at our debt now, we're probably $80,000 a person. So who's going to be able to afford in the future if they say, hey, you want to buy your freedom, but you have to, the taxes per person is $200,000 in a lifetime, and the average person's only making $250,000 in a lifetime. The average person will never be free. I mean, it's just modern what it is. And most people can know where I was going with that, but it's not about any race. It's about every race. I think it's about all people. I think all lives matter. I think, and I mean, from my dog to everything, I mean, all lives matter. So, I mean, you shoot my dog and we're going to have some major problems. So, you know, your animals right now are more of your family than some of your friends, because you spend all day with your animal, but you're not seeing those other people come around, but your dog's checking on you. So I think more people are going to probably fight and defend their dog before they defend some of their people in their neighborhood. So I think more people need to get out, meet their neighbors, say hi, you know. I think more people are scared. I mean, back in the day, you'd hear our grandparents talk about, hey, we had a bottle of milk or a cup of sugar. I don't see any of, like, in our complex, I highly doubt people are going to go knocking on the door for a cup of sugar. I mean, I'm thankful because, you know, me and my neighbor, we get along, and, you know, I went to leave and get my kid, and she asked me a question, and I came back, and I told her when I came back, you know, I'd give her a ride, and, you know, she doesn't have a car, and I gave her a ride so she could get a couple groceries and stuff. But that's what you do. I mean, it's a small town community. I mean, and you have to have people around you that you trust, and you want to have your area feeling safe and secure. So I think that I'm thankful that my community really came together when when all this stuff happened. You know that you don't have the policing and everything, and your burglary going on. So I think, like, it's nice knowing even some of my neighbors, they're, you know, the ones that are out smoking on their porch or whatever, but they're looking out, they're watching. I mean, people were watching. We had somebody come through and steal Cadillac converters the other night. I mean, people can't afford to have their cars fixed, and now you got people coming and stealing Cadillac converters, and those people are stealing some hardworking person's money to go scrap it so they can have some money. But now this person can't start their car because it's super loud, can't run down the road. I mean, lives are getting destroyed over the petty theft now. I mean, seeing the petty theft in my community makes me, I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, some of the stuff that you see going on. It's really sad to see that that's what it's came to. That's what many of us have worked so hard for, is to give up everything that we've worked hard for and just say, okay, it's okay. We worked hard our whole life, but go ahead. You guys just take some more. We'll go back to work and give you some more. That's pretty much what they want you to do. If you worked hard, go back, work harder, give them some more. So if you find this video interesting, you find this helpful, you want to know things about stocks, a certain stock, a specific stock, you know, if you want me to go into more as far as quantitative easing goes, you know, talk more on any specific item, you know, even if it's going in and showing how I read a graph and graphs break down as far as, you know, go back and look at, you know, the full year of the stocks, you know, go back and look at the full lifetime of the stock and break down, and really, I think taking notes as far as every step of the way on whatever you're doing with any stock you're investing, keep a thorough log on every step of the way, you know, what you're buying, what you're selling, you know, if it dropped, if it hit a high point, you know, keep track of your stuff. And I hope everybody out there, sorry guys, I have my window open, it's snowing, so the snow's beating in right now against the glass, and the wind picked up, so my whole curtain like blew open. But I think one of the things that I was going to hit is, you know, what kind of videos people, or what kind of stocks are people looking for? Are more people investing in the stocks that are under $1? Are you investing in stocks like $1 to $10? Are you investing in stocks $10 to $20? Are you looking at investing in those bigger stocks, the wide range of stocks? So I think that there's many that are out there that are good possibilities. So I think in the future, my easiest way, I'm kind of answering these questions because I am very busy, so I mean, I even get back to even look at all the comments and stuff right away. probably on Saturdays will probably be where I'll reset and do stuff on YouTube, and I'll reset on Saturdays and kind of come on here. Hopefully what I'll start doing is I'll start doing a morning report, and start coming up maybe every other day in the morning and throwing something on 6-7 o'clock, and I'll go over maybe a section of stocks that are, under a penny. The stocks are moving between 10 cents and 50 cents. Some stocks are moving between 50 cents and $1, and give a range of stocks and different opinions. So let me know in the comments or send me an email. I'll put my messages and my stuff in the link. And if there's anything, if you want to donate to the channel, I'll put a Cash App link and put that in the comments. The biggest thing is just to hit the like button. I don't want any money for this stuff. I just want to pay it forward. If you share this and move it forward, if you like this and move it forward, if you get somebody else to say, hey, they watch this video, but they're not the only one out there trying to figure this stuff out and do this stuff. This is what that redneck stuff is about. But you gotta watch those platforms. I'm still one of those people that come from, I keep a pretty tight circle and a small circle. And really, when you're doing stuff, if you're focused on business and you're not really trying to take it, you're not worried about the attention. You're worried about your product, you're worried about your quality. And that's what this is. This is about quality of investment, quality of time, quality of personal. What you're doing, you need, taking the average person. If you took the time out to listen to this, watch this, then I thank you very much, because you took the respect and you took the time to sit here and follow it through, and that says a lot about the characters of the people that I want on this channel. The people that are going to want to be part of what's going on, and if they ask a question or send an email, I can direct a whole video to that's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes long, however long it takes. I'm not worried about the length of the video that I have to do. I'm willing to do the video and put the time in to make sure that the topic is put out there right. So, I can go for a range of topics, so just let me know in the comments, and I'll come back on Saturday and I'll check it out, and I thank you for your time.